Well, I think science and religion can coexist together because they don't contradict one another, but rather complement. We learn a lot over the centuries, and particularly in the last, say, 50 years, of how the world has existed and what happened and the Big Bang and all those other sorts of things. But at the same time, we have in the scriptures, in the book of Genesis, that God created the world in 7 days. Now, I don't believe God created the world in 7 days, but I do believe God created the world. And the way that God created the world speaks to us of God's character, of who God is. For God created the world out of beauty. God created the world for us, and we are stewards of that wonderful world. So the book of Genesis and the book and the story of creation is, if you like, an example. It's given to us as a picture of how God might have created the world. But we don't take it literally. But what it does tell us is that God did indeed create the world for us. And that's why we as Christians, and not just Christians, everyone, needs to have a great respect for our world, the way we care for the earth, the way we treat the earth is very important. And our Christian faith tells us of the huge impact that you and I can have on our world, just in the way that we pick up litter, that we don't waste water, and lots of other things like this. We can really have an effect. So our faith and science work happily together. We learn about the world, but most importantly, we learn about God's creation.
I am both a Catholic and I'm also a scientist. I trained as a mathematician and then later as a computer scientist. And most of my working life was spent on scientific things. Things that had logic, that could be proven, that there was evidence. And so that part of my knowledge is all about what's real, what can be proven, what can be observed. As a Catholic, I can see that there are things that science can't explain. Why does the universe exist? Why does it exist the way it exists? There is something beyond us that we don't know about, we don't understand, and more than that, we can't create what we don't understand. So there is a presence other than us that has created our universe and our world. And I can see both sides of that, both the scientific side and the belief side are completely complementary. You can't live one without the other. And as human beings, we're heart people, we're mind people, and we're soul people. And if we try to divide those and separate them, then we are not whole as human beings. There's a wonderful story about a scientist, he's a mathematician and a physics scientist, who was with President Clinton when the human genome was announced in the early 2000s. And do you know what President Clinton said? He said, the discovery of the human genome is the most significant part of creation that we have already discovered. And he called it the language of God. Now, for a lay person to say that, and I don't know what President Clinton's beliefs are, but he had a scientist with him, and here's a scientist agreeing with him that science is the language of God. And that to me is such a beautiful combination of the fact that belief and science can coexist.